What a day of football it was. North London Derby and El Clasico. Can't get much better than that. First, with the Premier League games before getting into the big ones, Chelsea picks up an important morale booster for Graham Potter and the squad, with Kai Havertz picking up a goal just after the 60th minute to seal the win 1-0 against Crystal Palace. Despite their poor form recently, this is a good game for them and a good win to pick up moving into their next match against Liverpool at home. Newcastle, furthering solidifying their position as a contender for the top four this season. People had doubts about them picking up a goal, picking up a win. Famously, Mark Goldbridge tweeting out how Newcastle needs to win games like these before the final whistle blew. And sure enough, Newcastle scored, proved him wrong. The Mark Goldbridge jinx is still alive. And Alexander Isak picks up a goal, 89th minute. Just when you see him, it's not going to happen. They get it done. They get over the line, clean sheet, good goal for Isak coming back from injury at home, and just further proving why this team is someone you don't want to mess with. Building upon their recent success, despite their knockout from the cup tournaments, they continue to plow through the teams in the Prem. Still only have one loss, along with Arsenal, and another clean sheet for them against Fulham, which is a team that's, as I talked about recently, really picking up a lot of steam and really finding their feet in this season. And lastly, Spurs 0, Arsenal 2. From the minute this game kicked off, it was all Arsenal. And if you've been watching teams recently, this really wouldn't be much of a surprise. But then again, as a North London derby, you'd hope Conte and the squad with guys like Harry Kane, Højbjerg, Son, Kulusevski, you would think that they'd put something together, put up more of a fight than they did today. And honestly, the game plan from Conte to play off the counterattacks, hold a deep defensive structure really did not work for them. It seemed that they were really outnumbered in each part of the field today. Every time they were on defensive units, it was 5v4 favoring Arsenal. Midfield was completely outplayed today. They were just Arsenal was bypassing Tottenham the entire game as if no one was even there. And Son, Kane, Kulusevski could do nothing up top. I don't really recall the trio of them picking up the ball more than a few dozen times, and if they had shots, they weren't convincing ones. And Ramsdale had to make a few good saves today, solid in the back, but really not much to offer from Tottenham, which is kind of worrying, just like acknowledging the form that Newcastle United are currently having in the season. It's not looking likely that they're going to finish top four, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking that will be the case. On the Arsenal, got everything right today. Odegaard, fantastic. Saka, fantastic down the right-hand side, completely burning Sessegnon on every play. Could not defend that man, could not mark him at all. It was all Saka down the right-hand side. Martinelli was not as imposing on the game, but still had a part to play. And Eddie Nketiah, he is continually imposing his place in that starting 11, really making his name known, especially after that Jesus injury, which a lot of people had doubts about Arsenal retaining their form, keeping it going, keeping that title race contention alive. And Eddie Nketiah has came into the squad as young as he is and has just performed, putting in results, getting goals, applying good movement up top, moving around those defenders, and doing what he needs to do. He is honestly one of the hardest working forwards I've seen in a while, especially for how young he is. Something that I've seen a lot is if he was a foreign player that was brought in instead of being a youth academy prospect, is how he'd be treated differently. Like if he came in as a signing and hit the ground running as he has, getting all those goals in a row last season, despite them not finishing top four, and continuing that form this season. I think a lot of people would have different opinions on him. So kind of an underrated young player that is really doing the job for them up top for Arsenal. Odegaard, he is world class. I think we can end the debate now if he's fulfilled that wonder kid prophecy ever since he was 15, 16 at Real Madrid. He is game by game giving De Bruyne a run for his money for the best center mid in the league, and honestly one of the best center mids in the world right now. You'd put him up with guys like Pedri, guys like, honestly, hard to think of any center mids in the world right now that are really competing at his level. Each game he's getting assists, getting goals. His footwork in tight spaces, getting the ball around. It's passes he shouldn't be making are seemingly easy for him. And when you have a player who is that talented and in this good of a form at this point in the season, it's dangerous, but it's also very uplifting and good to see for Arsenal fans. So you really can't complain with that pickup. Thomas Partey, consistent performer, almost scored an absolute worldie today. Top 10 goals to have never been scored. Go watch that. First time volley outside the box, rifles it, top corner, hits off the post. Unlucky. But, I mean, it's just kind of shows the dominance and skill level that Arsenal is playing at right now. Looking at the goals, Saka down the right-hand side within 15 minutes, puts a cross in, and Lloris has an absolute howler in the back. Not his first and not going to be his last. Ball comes at him, tries to deflect it out, gets a little deflection off of Sessegnon, and might have had a part to play in that, but you're still thinking the ball's coming across the goal. The last thing you'd want to do as a goalkeeper is not get in the goal. So it's not good by him, but I mean, absolute wonderland for Arsenal fans. Getting that goal early in the game really cemented their place, cemented their dominance throughout the rest of the 90 minutes. And it wasn't long before Arsenal picked up their second and what seemed to be eventually the killer blow for Tottenham. Martin Odegaard picks up the ball middle of the field, about 20, 25 yards out. Touch, takes it out of his foot and rifles it right in the bottom right-hand corner. Gives Lloris really no chance. Just quick attacking play, quick 1-2s, and getting those shots off right when you need to before the defense and keepers are expecting it. Arsenal was just too fast for Tottenham today. Tottenham was playing a few gears slower than they were, and it really showed. Arsenal would not let up, and despite their second half, which you will see players like Odegaard and Ramsdale talking about, is how they still want to improve and that they're writing off this title race contention, that are they believing the hype? And they're like, no, we still have work to do. And that's the mindset you need to be in if you're an Arsenal player and if you actually do want to really win this league. Obviously, people are going to tell Arsenal fans, you got to start believing it. You got to start enjoying it, because right now you are title contenders. And I will agree with that. I mean, ever since first number of games, you watch Arsenal play and they look so good. Not going to swear, but they look really freaking good. And the 1-2 passing, this Pep Guardiola tactics that have been ingrained into Arteta have fully been realized with this young squad. Over the past few years, they've been learning the tactics, learning everything you need to do in this new system, this tiki-taka-esque style of play, and it is finally being realized. And right now, Arsenal is unplayable. They have been all season. It's going to be exciting to see when they do play City, because I think, like games in the past seasons when Liverpool would play City, those are what end up being the title winning games right there. You drop points against the other title contenders, and you look back at the end of the season, if you lose by a point or two, you look at that City game and you think that's where we needed to pick up points. That's where it was so close. And that's where it would have made the difference. Despite all the other flukes that happened throughout the season, they happen. But in big games like those, that's when it really matters. And I think today, honestly, it wasn't the game, but it was an impactful performance and really a statement victory for this Arsenal side and Michael Arteta's side, proving why they need to be taken seriously and need to continue to be taken seriously, moving 8 points on top of the table with City's loss to Man United yesterday. I think it'll be very interesting to see how that City game's going to go. But at least until that happens, I don't see Arsenal slowing down. And should they lose to City, I don't think they will, but anything could happen. And should they lose to City, I don't think that will inhibit the progress of this team going forward. And I would still consider them the title contenders for the season. And moving on to the El Clasico, Barcelona utterly outplayed Real Madrid in the final. Likewise to Arsenal outplaying Tottenham. The games were almost a mirror of each other. Real Madrid's defense being swarmed by the press of Xavi's side. The young midfielders completely outworking the older midfielders of Cruz and Modric in Real Madrid's side. It was calamity in the back, calamity of errors for Real Madrid, constantly making loose passes as a result of the pressure, and it was biting them in the butt. And play after play, Barca was only getting closer to a goal. You had a shot off the post by Lewandowski, and before you knew it, give the ball away in the back. 1-2 pass, Lewandowski plays in Gavi, and it's 1-0, half hour in. Just before halftime, similar situation happens. Real Madrid pressing too high up the field. Toni Kroos makes a lack of concentration, not challenge, but a lack of acknowledgement of spatial awareness in the middle of the field, presses when he shouldn't be pressing, leaves, I don't even know what's his name, the Dutch kid. Not thinking of his name right now, but De Jong. De Jong plays in Gavi down the left-hand side, who crosses the ball to Lewandowski, wide open goal, and it's 2-0 right before halftime. You have a missed challenge from Cruz in the middle of the field, and then Eder Militao also makes a clumsy challenge, pressing when he shouldn't be, which leaves it a 2-on-1 situation for Gavi and Lewandowski to attack Rudiger down the left-hand side, and it's 2-0 at halftime. All Barcelona. Real Madrid not really in it, not creating any chances. And into the second half, it wasn't long before Pedri knocks in a third off of another cross. And by that, it's game over. Real Madrid tried to push in later in the match, creating more chances, trying to get back in the game, but too little, too late. Benzema picks up a consolation in the last minute. And the game ends 3-1, and Xavi wins his first trophy with Barcelona in his first ever final, which I think is a good reflection on how well and how underestimated Barca have been this year, being top of the table, winning the first trophy available for them, and despite them still being in the Europa League, they do seem like the real title contenders, especially with that win over Real Madrid, who is obviously in second place in the league. Real Madrid has been pretty invincible these past, I'm going to say, decade and a half. They're always invincible, but especially last season, rampaging through teams like PSG, Liverpool, Chelsea in the Champions League, not letting up and getting that trophy. Benzema, Ballon d'Or winner. It seems like everything was going right for them. And it pretty much continued into this season, but There's only one team that's outplayed them, and that's Barcelona. And Xavi's men have really been putting it together. They brought up the youth prospects. You have Balde, who's really showing his talent level and his working ability to not only earn a spot as a starter and as a consistent sub in Xavi's side, but actually someone he can trust and be a playmaker in an important final against Real Madrid. Pedri, Gavi start in the middle of the field, and obviously Lewandowski up top. Dembele is still doing his magic. He's only getting better. I know he had a rough spell for a few years at Barca, but he's really picked it up under Xavi's side, especially with this new style of play they're playing. Really bringing it back to that old tiki-taka style, but a lot quicker passes up the field, not playing around with it more. And that really was a detriment to Real Madrid today. And Real Madrid did not know how to respond to this style of play. They couldn't react. They couldn't anticipate what was happening in front of them. And that's how they found themselves losing this match. It's not a game a lot of people would have honestly expected Barcelona to win, given the aura and style and reputation of this Real Madrid side, given all of their experience and talent and the recent Ballon d'Or winner up top. I think this is another statement victory for someone people wouldn't have expected to make such a title charge as they have this year. Barcelona have been playing exceptionally well in the league. Something also going under the radar is their defensive abilities. They are not letting in goals. I believe they have the best defensive record in La Liga, and they're just winning games. And at a halfway point in the season, I think this is one of the most important times to actually acknowledge where the teams are. Everyone's played each other at least once, just about, given there's some changes in that because of the World Cup, but it's really a good indication of where teams are going to end up. What kind of form are they at right now? And will this form continue? And I think for teams sitting at top of the table, it's going to take something very impactful, detrimental to them that would harm their chances, such as a glaring injury to one of their star players. But even then, you look at Arsenal, Gabriel Jesus, who is by far one of their best players leading the front line, picks up an injury at the few last moments of the World Cup. Brazil's in it, and he's out for a few months. He'll come back in February, March, but by then the title could be lost. So you're looking at, is Arsenal going to be able to cope with that? And as I've said earlier, with Nketiah coming in, filling that role perfectly, they have been. And that is worrying for other title contending teams in the league. And likewise to Barcelona. This win against Real Madrid, with them being ahead of them in the table, it is worrying because it is glaringly obvious that this is where Barcelona is right now, and this is where Real Madrid is right now. They're not at the same level. You don't get walloped 3-0 within an hour and try to convince somebody that you guys are equal playing field. It was all Barcelona today, all Arsenal today, and both teams rightfully deserve, for Barcelona the trophy, and for Arsenal their triumph win over Spurs. Looking forward, obviously the Liverpool-Chelsea game is one I'm definitely going to be covering. That's at the weekend. And then one of the games to look forward to is Thursday. You have Man City at home against Spurs. It should be, from what we saw today, a pretty comfortable win for Man City and Pep's squad. But then again, if you're a Spurs fan, you're looking to bounce back, put something in the conversation as to why you still are a top 4 contending team, or else everyone's going to write you off, and probably your own fans are going to write Tottenham off as a Europa League side for next year. And even maybe further talks of Conte being sacked, which would be interesting, but I don't think it'd be completely undeserved, given they have 2 wins against the past 12 teams that are top 6 opposition. So it is something to consider. But yeah, that is all I have for today, and I'll see you later. Peace.